Hello, I'm going to show you how I put the envelopes together for the envelope journal. So I use this Aleene's tacky glue, but I've watered it down because it's very thick, and then I spread it with a brush. So let me show you how I lay these out. So the first envelope I put this way with the flap facing up. Then when I take the next one, I face the flap down and I glue it inside so that it can fold this way. I take the next one, again, face it down, put it inside here, and glue just the flap. Do it with the next one. And then the last one, actually, how did I do this? Oh, this one I put backwards, see? Didn't pay attention. Okay, this one goes backwards, or upside down, really. Okay, then when you have this facing out, the last one you keep regular. Put it in there and close it. Then you have this on the side, which this can fold over. You're gonna be covering these with papers anyway. So then what you end up with is this little journal with these pockets inside. And you can hold it this way, you can hold it this other way if you want the pocket on the left instead of the right. So that is how I put together the envelope. So I'm gonna actually glue it off camera and I'll be back. I'm back and I have glued everything together. I decided that I wanted to have a closure on this. So for that last flap that folded over, I just glued some paper so that when I put the first page in like this, it can be like this and I can have a closure here, which I'll show you at the end. So what I want to talk about now is composition of the pages. So how do you put these pages together so that they look appealing? The first thing that you have to do is there needs to be continuity among all the pages. And that can be with color, with shapes. The color should definitely be continuous. So if I have this soft palette, I shouldn't put a bright pink or a bright purple or black, dark black as a main element on the page. So the first thing to think about is what are going to be the elements that stay consistent. So in the previous video, I made these background pages. So right here, we're showing that my backgrounds are consistent. I have tissue paper on all of them. The colors came from the same book, and so that hue is the same. We have that going on. The other thing is the elements. So here, I know that I want to use some type of butterfly. Doesn't have to always be paper. I want to use the clocks. I want to have texture, and I want to have stamping. The texture here is coming from the dots and also from this thread with buttons. So one of the things is I don't always have to put thread with buttons on every page, but the texture should maybe be within that color palette so that there's continuity between the texture. I don't always have to use white. So I have this white puffy paint, but I also have gold puffy. So I'm sometimes going to use gold, I'm sometimes going to use white, but I'm not going to use bright pink, bright purple, anything like that because that doesn't fall within this color palette. I don't have to put music on every page, but there should be something along that line. So I have this black stamping. So I have these two stamps. They're similar in shape. So this is the one I used here. Sometimes I might use this one, but the shapes are the same and that will add continuity among the pages. I also have these little shapes that I cut out. I have like a cricket and I cut these out. So these will appear somewhere. Maybe not on every page, but I have them. So what I do is I set up my station and I have all these things available. I have a bunch of words that I can choose from. This I embossed using this Tattered Rose embossing glaze. And sometimes I might just emboss part of it. I might not emboss the whole thing. So having like that shine adds another texture. So let's play with the idea of putting together a layout. And let's talk about what that looks like. So let's see. I'll use this page. Okay. So one of the things that I know I'm going to be consistent with is having a face, having a clock, possibly having more than one clock. So I have these pages, which I'll put a link to in, a link below. But I have a lot of these faces. I bought them on Etsy as a digital print. And the clock faces I also bought on Etsy as a digital print. So I'll put those two links below. The clocks came with, I think, 96 different clocks. So I'm going to try and use, again, like this one I wouldn't use. It's not within the color palette. This I probably will use because it's softer, and that allows me to add a little bit of soft purple, and it's got the blue from the envelopes in it. So see how we're creating a palette, and we're going to stick within that palette. The other thing is I have these cutouts. So they're just different things. So for this, I cut that out, and I had this other side. So this actually was like this. And now I'll take this and I'll use it in this composition. So I hope this is making sense, because I feel like you can watch me put these things together, and yes, that's fun to look at and fun to watch, but are you learning how to do it? So where we have this compass on the front, and this front isn't done, I'll probably tone this down a bit. I have these compass stencils, so I will most likely stencil like here. I don't think I'll use a stamp. I think I'll stencil one of the compasses also in the background. So let's play with layout now. Okay, so how do you lay something out so that it's appealing? Let's look at this. Okay, so first you decide what is your focal point. I know that I want her face to be the focal point. So I actually have her on the topmost level, but I want a little bit of overlap here so that she also fits into the page. And then your eye is coming this way onto the page. It could come in or it can come up. So that's really important, is where do you want the viewer's eye to go on the page? So let's talk about that. So let's say I have these elements I'm going to lay out on the page. Ultimately, I'm going to add more elements, and you'll see. And I also like this little rose over here. Okay, so if I put her in the middle of the page and I just begin generally sticking stuff on, it doesn't really feel that good. First of all, if I'm going to say she's my focus, I've kind of muddied that up over here. So you have to just be careful as you lay things out to get your layout. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to put her down here in the corner. I'm going to put this little clock behind her, right? So already now you see she's kind of looking down. There's another element behind. We'll use a larger clock up here, and we'll face it with the clock actually the way it is. Then I have this little thing. So let's see how it feels if I just kind of tuck this under here. So what we're doing now is we're pulling this color down to here. And I think I'm going to emboss just the leaves of this. And then I have this rose. So right now, as you look at this, there's a little imbalance up here. Like this is a lot of open space where not much is happening. So my thought was, I could put this rose like this. So to me, this is a very balanced, finished composition. Your eye is coming in and it's following around, or it's coming in this way and following up. And now you just kind of play with the background. So I had said, you know, maybe I'll put in, so this stencil kind of has very similar shapes to these numbers. So maybe in the background, I'll lightly put this stencil somewhere instead of a stamp. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. But now I'm gonna stay within these elements. I'm not gonna add a whole bunch of new stuff. So with each page I do, these will be the general elements that I'm gonna have on the page. Also, I'm not crazy about how bright this paper is, but I don't really wanna fussy cut that. So let's see, I don't know if this is gonna work. If I have to print out another one, I print out another one. But let's just see if I take a vintage photo and if I can dull this down just a little bit. I know my table shakes when I do stuff. I have to figure that out. Okay, so now let's see if that feels a little bit better, that it doesn't distract the eye when it's on there. Yeah, I like that better. It just kind of sits in there. Another thing I want to talk about is, again, the difference between glue and gel medium. So I'm going to show you on this one. I use gel medium here. It's a really subtle thing. I don't know. I find I like it better. So here, it's almost as if this is melting into the page. And I don't know if it comes through on camera, but it definitely does in person. It seems as though this is seamless. This, I used glue, and you can see it kind of sits on, even though it's glued down, it's sitting on top of that. The clock, I used gel medium. It feels like it just sits inside. And then these elements, I used glue. So that's just the idea that I have. Like if I want this to feel like it's melting into the background, I use gel medium. So I'll probably use gel medium on this, and this, and this, and then glue on these two elements. So what I'm gonna do is, off camera, I'm gonna put this together, glue it, probably put the compass stencil, and I'll be back. So I have used gel medium and glue to put things down. It's still kind of drying a little bit. And one of the things I want to do now is add texture. So if you remember on this one, we have this thread and these buttons. So here, I think what I'm going to do is, since we don't have a butterfly, I'm going to use texture paste, and I'm going to put a butterfly right up here. So I use modeling paste. It's a little thicker than texture paste. You can use whatever you want. I like modeling paste. Dries pretty quickly. And because this is going to go in an envelope journal that's pretty delicate, I want this to be kind of flat. I don't want it to stick up too much. Sometimes I leave that, but in this one I don't really want it. So we'll let that dry. It has this little bit of blue. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but that's because there's blue on the stencil. That doesn't bother me. I don't care. Ultimately what I'm gonna do, so there's a couple things you can do with this right now while it's kind of wet. You can put mica powder on it, like I gently just tap mica powder, and that actually would be really pretty because I have gold. But I think what I'm gonna do with this one is I'm gonna let it dry, and I'm gonna use colored pencil. And I'll show you how that works, because I haven't seen people use colored pencil over modeling paste before, so I think that would be interesting for you to see. And now I'm debating about, let's put these side by side, how this has these white dots around the clock. I do feel like it needs something, but should I make them gold or should I make them white? I'm gonna do gold. Yeah, and I don't know if you can also see here, just on those tips, I used where did I put it? Oh, I don't even know. The embossing glaze. So on this butterfly, I used it on the entire thing. And here, I just did it on the leaves, just so that is a little bit softer in that space. But yes, I think I'm gonna do gold around the clock there, and then we'll let that dry. Okay, the texture paste is dry now, and I added dots, the gold dots around the clock. I also put in a little phrase. So I put together some pencils that I think will look good with this background, and now I'll just kind of color. And what I like is it stays pretty subtle on there. And if I went over this harder, pressed harder or more, the color would be there more. Oh, I forgot to tell you too, I did put the compass back here. It's just very subtle, but it's there. And because I have some of this blue paint on the top here that was on my stencil, I think I'll just put a little bit of blue up here. Oop, that one's not dry. That's okay. I'll keep going on the other parts. Okay, so then when I'm done with this, what I want to show you is let's together do another layout. I have to let this dry more. It's not quite dry, but you get the idea. And if you don't like this, you can just take your finger and go over it. You could even wet it. I like it. So I'll finish letting that dry, and let's talk about our next layout. All right, so here are the elements that I want to use. Obviously, we're going to have to cover this part of the page with something. And we're going to have a clock, maybe a butterfly, this face. Okay, so far, I've cut around the faces. I think on, see, I've cut around. I think on this one, let's work with it not cut, which will actually be more challenging, but I think you'll see, you'll learn more about layout if we do it this way, okay? All right, so here we have our face. And I wanted to show you, if I put the butterfly here, what is the focal point now? The butterfly. So we have to still keep elements behind this face while covering up these edges. So that's what I mean about it being a challenge. So immediately, if I were to put this behind, the face becomes the focal point again. The butterfly is just there. So we have this clock. I love the colors, but I think the clock is too small. So let's put that aside. And here I just printed a bigger clock. So we can put this here. I noticed that there's these flowers here which match my stamp. Very similar. So I'm going to stamp here and here with black. I'll do that on camera so you can see what that looks like. I like this, but we still have this edge that I'm not crazy about. So let's see. What if we were to use something like this? Oh, that's nice. What if I just used half of it? Oh, half of it's even nicer because we get the edge, but it softens it. Okay, let's try that. So first, let me stamp on here. Let's see what that looks like. So I hope you're getting a sense of how to lay things out. It's one of those things that you have to play with. And since you have nothing glued down, there's no reason not to just play. Play, 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 play. I have to put some paper behind here. So I don't Okay, let's see. Let's do this like this. And then we still have some on the stamp here. So let's just put that here and see if it's enough. That's nice. All right, so if we put this here, we put the clock back. I might put the clock on the outside. And then, also, I don't like the green. As I'm looking at it, I don't like the green. So I think what I'm gonna do is let's try a tattered rose and emboss this and see if we can change the color. Also, I think I want some stamping on the bottom, but not very bright. So let's see how this works, if I have enough left. Yeah, just something. Yeah, just enough to distract. I like that. That's very subtle. All right, we'll change the color of this, but I like it there. We have the clock. So let's look at one of our pages. So I do see something that we're missing. We're missing texture. So where I did this butterfly and I did the thread, I think we'll do thread on this one. Okay, I'm gonna go emboss this and put things down. Okay, I embossed this and I do not like it at all. The color is not good. So I was thinking, let me try something. I've never done this before, but it's worth a shot. There's a lot of pink in here. So what I'm gonna try is this Halo Pink Gold. It's just acrylic paint. And let's see how that works. If we like the way, if I can cover it. I might even have to water it down, but let's give it a try. Why not? Ooh, I think I like it. And I actually like, this has a sheen, but also the little embossing. You probably can't see it on camera, but it kind of bubbles up a little. I don't want it overly done. I actually like it like this. Cover that little thing. Yes. Yes, look at that. Okay, so we're gonna let this dry. And I think, yeah, let's let that dry and I'll clean up. Okay, we have the butterfly the way we like it. I think I wanna add, this space is a little bit empty, so I'm gonna do a little bit of this compass. You can use a brush to do this, but what I think with the brushes is it's a lot deeper color than what I'm looking for. I just want it to be, you know, not too obtrusive, but there. And if you use a brush, I feel like it comes out very dark, which sometimes you'll want that, but in this particular case, I don't. I think that's perfect. All right. Let's see. So let's put the layout down again and see what we think of it. So let's see. I'm gonna put this there. I'm gonna put this up here, and I think I will overlap it. Let's see. Yeah. Overlap it a little bit. How did we have this? I don't even remember how we had these different things. And now we're gonna have this. Oh, okay, that's why. So put that like that. And then we're gonna put this on the whole thing. Up like that. Let's see, I feel like it needs one more thing. Maybe one of these, a tiny one. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I like that. Okay, I'm gonna glue this down and I'm gonna put the other pages together and I will come back with the final walkthrough. I have everything put together and I'll go through and describe what I've done. If you just want to see the finished product, then fast forward to where you see lace here and that'll just be the final walkthrough with no talking. So I bound this with some string and put a little charm on. And on the front, I added this transparency butterfly. That's a Tim Holtz product with some little cutouts. This is also collage paper by Tim Holtz. It kind of just melts into the page. That's what I like about it. And this page you had seen. These we had put together. I finished coloring this in, added some compass back here with distress ink. And here we have more texture. So I knew these two pages would go together. So when two pages go together, it's called a spread. And so within this spread, this is the focal point. And if we just take away this page, then this is the focal point. This one here has all the elements again. So we knew this would be a spread. So I put these two clocks diagonal from each other. I'm talking a lot about this because basically this is how you lay out spreads or pages together. Here I did texture paste and then I just used a butterfly stamp, and it's really fun because it just stays on the raised part and doesn't go to the lower part. Let's see if you can see that. I think that's really fun. Honestly, this one I'm not crazy about, this spread. I think it's a little confusing. This is the focal point on this page, and I would say this is the focal point here. It's okay. This one I love. I love this one because the way the purples come in together. I did a little bit of distress ink behind here with a compass. Obviously I did stamping. There's some texture. And then this is the back. Now, what I'm noticing about the back is this doesn't really stand out that much. And it starts with just at the moment she was wishing she was herself again. So I think what I'm going to do is add some texture here to draw the eye or color. I'm not sure. I'm going to play with that a little bit more. But I'll do the final walkthrough now. I have these pages. These are cabbage dyed papers. And these are going to go inside the pockets as journal pages. So I put a little notch so that whoever gets this can see that these slide out. So I'll show you these. I love this one. Fun.